Hey y'all, it's Charmise Idris here, and today I wanted to show you how to make a very simple body butter where we do not have to melt down the butter and then let it solidify and then mix it. We're going to leave the heat out of it. So let me just go ahead and show you the formulation. Today we are going to make a 200-gram batch just because I find that great for testing. But if you want those percentages so that you can make a bigger batch later, make sure you check out the blog post below. The key to making the body butter to where you don't have to melt the butters and oils first is using a good butter base. And the base we're going to use today is shea butter. It's basic, it's good, and it's refined because I don't really care for the smell of the unrefined shea butter. And I did get my shea butter from Nature's Garden, but refined versus unrefined is just my own preference. So do what you want. Typically, I say that you can swap out the shea butter with mango butter, but for this recipe and this process of not melting it down, I would recommend sticking with the shea butter. Now, the only time that you would actually need to melt this recipe down is if your shea butter is grainy. Because if your shea butter is grainy, mixing it is not going to make it not grainy. It's just going to be fluffy, grainy body butter. And then the last thing I want to say about the butter is that, as you can see, I did try to break it down into smaller chunks just because, one large chunk of shea butter is going to be harder to mix. Next up, we're going to add in the oils, and I did use my two favorite oils for this recipe, which are sunflower oil and grapeseed oil. Both of these oils absorb pretty quickly, but also leave your skin feeling silky smooth. And unlike with the shea butter, you actually can swap out the oils, so you can use one oil of your choice or you can use like 10 different types of oil. Just make sure that if you're making a 200-gram batch like me, that you have 61 grams of carrier oil. And then also note the absorption rate, so how quickly that oil that you choose absorbs into the skin. So you wouldn't want to use something like castor oil just because it absorbs very slow and is quite sticky. Next up, I'm going to add my vitamin E oil, and of course there are antioxidant properties, but I'm actually adding this oil to help prevent rancidity among my other oils. Next up, I'm going to use my hand mixer just to mix up this body butter for about 3 to 5 minutes until I get to a consistency that I like and all the clumps are broken down. Now that my body butter is nice and fluffy, I want to show you what it looks like on my skin. For this recipe, I do have an optional additive of arrowroot powder. This is to cut down on the greasiness, but honestly, between the sunflower oil and grapeseed oil and also the shea butter percentage, I don't find this formula very greasy, but if you still want to add the arrowroot powder after testing it on your skin, I'm going to show you how I do that now. Just so I don't blow powder all over the place, I'm going to mix it up with a spatula first, and then I will use my hand mixer again. I will make sure to add the link to the containers I'm using below, but these are 6-ounce containers. One thing I really like about making shea butter like this, so not melting the butter first, is that this consistency that I have here is my actual consistency. Typically, not always, when I melt the butter first, I don't know what the final consistency is going to be until the next day because it hardens up a little bit. Before I go, I want to thank you guys so much for tuning into this video, especially for getting this far. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please think about subscribing. And then I also want to shout out my people over on Patreon. Make sure you check out their links in the description below. And for exclusive recipes and exclusive content, make sure you check out my Patreon. I will also have that link in the description. All right, y'all. Bye.